Switching gears to Google parent company Alphabet coming under pressure today. This as the company faces fresh criticism over its handling of customers' medical data. Let's go to Josh Lipton in San Francisco for the latest. Hey, Josh.
So, Melissa, it's called Project Nightingale, Google's new initiative. According to the Journal, companies collecting the personal health information of millions of Americans across 21 states. Data like lab results, doctor diagnoses, and hospitalization records, as well as patient names and dates of birth. Google's partner is Ascension, a leading nonprofit health system. Neither doctors nor patients have apparently been notified. Now, we reached out to Alphabet for comment. Company directed us to Ascension, which put out its own statement about the partnership, saying it includes transitioning Ascension to the Google Cloud platform and Google's G Suite and exploring AI applications to improve patient safety. Ascension does emphasize its engagement with Google is in compliance with HIPAA, regulations that protect the privacy and security of certain health information. Google isn't alone in its move into healthcare, of course. Amazon and Apple are pushing into the space, too, and for good reason. It is a huge opportunity with over $7 trillion in health spending per year. Now, beyond this Ascension partnership, Google also recently agreed to buy Fitbit, valuing that company at about $2 billion. Google will not use health and wellness data from Fitbit for its ads. Still, some lawmakers in Washington questioned that acquisition, saying it deserved investigation. Melissa, back to you.
All right, Josh, thank you. Josh Lipton in San Francisco. So I think the big question here is this headline going to draw more scrutiny, regulatory scrutiny for Google? It's interesting the point that Josh made, though, that it is in compliance with HIPAA.
No, I
like that. I mean, that's an important distinction.
It is very important. But, you know, off camera we were talking. I mean, it's one thing to have UNH. It's one thing to have your doctor's office, have your medical. It's entirely something different to have Google, and God only knows what they're going to do with it. And they can say we're in compliance with HIPAA. It's just not a good look, in my opinion. I'm surprised the stock wasn't down more, given the run that stock has had. And they can say valuation is compelling. It's a great company. I get all these things, but that to me is a pretty startling announcement. It's a pretty startling headline, and the stock didn't trade in kind, in my opinion. I thought it should have been down a lot more than it was.
Yeah, Beeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a problem for Google. In this day and age where Google and Facebook are under the spotlight, everybody's saying, look what you're doing with our data. I do think it certainly, it tarnishes the Google image. Now, is it going to impact earnings over the next couple quarters? I think ads still stay out there. But the problem is consumers are eventually going to say, we've had enough. And that'll be a catalyst, in my view, for what everybody was calling Web 3.0, which actually I think is the bigger threat to Google.
We were talking in the break about whether or not it is a problem. And I thought it was a problem. And you thought it wasn't a problem. So why don't you think it's a problem?
I think that sort of the price of privacy has gone down a lot. Right, that we've so many times heard, Cambridge Analytica was huge. GDPR ended up being the fix ended up being really not so relevant to Google's earnings. And I just think that we're kind of used to our data being out there. And look at the stock's reaction to this today, even as they are under the microscope. Right, this isn't a good look, but I think the market just doesn't care. We're used to our data is out there.
Here's my question. If Google announced that it had some sort of a breach, and we didn't know that they had health data, and you didn't know that they had your health data until after the breach, wouldn't that be a problem? I mean, I just feel...
Let's say United Health announced they had a breach.
Okay, but I understand, being a United Health customer, that they need to have this data in order to reimburse me for my whatever doctor's visits or whatnot. That's part of the deal.
And Google says we were looking to help Ascension with their...
Yeah, and that doesn't help me. I get nothing from this partnership as my, is my issue, is my pushback with.
It's not a symbiotic relationship.
Exactly.
I mean, they're taking it right. I mean,
I
what you're doing. United
for broader
Health.
mankind, for them to have this information, to crunch it, big data, to study patient outcomes, et cetera. But I should be able to opt into that as opposed to find out after the fact that they have my data and lab results and everything else that they have.
Right. So, listen, they have 7 or so properties with over 1 billion users, and they've really hit a wall as far as ad loads and the such, right? And so they have to do these sorts of deals and try to figure out how to monetize that data. And this has really been the issue, obviously, across this whole space with Facebook over the last couple of years. I'll just say this, that, Guy just said this is a cheap stock. I think every headline, like you mentioned, Melissa, you have to layer on cost, right? And you're seeing that their earnings decelerated massively, their earnings growth this year, and expected to be high teens next year. So if you're telling me that a high teens earnings and sales grower for Google trading 24 times forward is cheap, fine. But if they decelerate meaningfully and they have other headwinds to growth, then it becomes a very expensive stock very quickly. And all that money that people were really excited about this year, about them giving back to shareholders, has to go to other places. Then it becomes a less compelling story. And if you just look at the chart, it's 1,300 to 1,000 over the last year. We got to 1,300. We just broke back below on a bad piece of news. I don't know if you're buying the breakout here. I'm not.